Have you ever felt a tight knot in your chest when you doubt what you can do? Have you watched an opportunity slip away because you let fear win? In the next few minutes, you will learn how to rewrite those moments so they push you forward instead of holding you back. You'll discover simple actions you can take today to stop that inner voice from tearing you down and to start speaking to yourself with respect. You will feel my own heart racing as I share real examples of people who changed their lives by choosing belief over doubt. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to take control of your thoughts and step into each day with a sense of strength and purpose. Stay with me, and let's begin this journey together. Are you ready to change your story? Let's dive in now together. Number 1, take full control of how you speak to yourself. You can tell a lot about someone by how they speak to themselves. Not just in public, not when they're trying to impress somebody, but when they're alone, when the lights are off, when nobody's listening. That voice inside their head. That's the real driver of their life. If that voice is full of criticism, doubt, fear, hesitation, you can be sure of one thing. Their future is already being shaped by it, and not in the way they hope. Most people never stop to notice how cruel they are to themselves. They think they're being realistic. They think it's just honesty, but that's not honesty. Telling yourself you're not good enough isn't realism. It's a program you downloaded without knowing it. Maybe from your parent, maybe from your school, maybe from the pain of being compared. But here's what matters now. If you don't take charge of how you speak to yourself, your future is going to pay the price. You can't build a strong life with a weak inner voice. You can't build confidence if every time you fall short, you tell yourself you're a failure. You can't build discipline if every time you feel tired, you say you're lazy. And you sure can't build belief if the first thing you hear in your own mind is always, I can't do it. I've seen brilliant people who couldn't get themselves off the ground because their inner world was full of self-rejection. I've seen people with no special talent go far just because they refused to speak badly to themselves. They cheered themselves on when nobody else did. They believed they could figure it out, even when they didn't yet know how. They practiced self-respect, even when they were surrounded by disrespect. That's power. It doesn't take money to talk better to yourself. It doesn't take talent. It takes awareness. You have to start noticing how you react when things go wrong. Do you get angry at yourself? Do you beat yourself up? Do you call yourself names? That voice has more influence over your life than any opinion from the outside, because it's the one you hear the most. You've got to train it. You've got to discipline it. You've got to say, I'm not going to be my own worst enemy anymore, because that's what it is when you put yourself down all the time. It's sabotage. It's not humility. It's self-destruction, dressed up as honesty, and it doesn't serve you. Start small. Notice the words you say when you fail. Change, I always mess things up, to that didn't work, but I can do better. Change, I'm terrible at this, to I'm learning. Change, I'll never be like them, to I'm focused on my own path. Simple changes, real changes, not fake positivity, but fair and constructive talk. That's what you need. People think they need motivation. What they really need is fairness. They need to stop tearing themselves down before they even get a chance to rise. You've got to become your own coach, not your own critic. If you wouldn't say it to a child you love, don't say it to yourself. You're not weak for failing. You're human. You're not broken for struggling. You're learning. I'm not talking about lying to yourself. I'm talking about speaking in a way that helps you grow instead of keeps you stuck. Think about it. If every time you try something, you're ready to attack yourself the second it goes wrong, how long do you think you'll keep trying? Not long. But if you treat yourself with strength and compassion, you become unstoppable. The world already throws enough pressure at you. Don't add to it by being cruel inside. You deserve a voice that supports you, especially when things get hard. You deserve to feel like your own ally, not your enemy. Nobody's going to do that for you. That's your job. When you change your inner language, you change your identity. You go from being someone who doubts to someone who decides, from someone who hesitates to someone who moves. Because when your inner voice believes in you, you start acting like someone who matters. And listen, belief is not a one-time thing. It's not something you wake up with once and then you're set for life. You build it daily. Every time you stand up after you fall. Every time you speak kindly to yourself after a failure. Every time you stay in the fight when your mind tries to pull you out. That's how belief is built, brick by brick, moment by moment. It's not the loud voice in your head that holds the most power. It's the consistent one, the one that whispers every morning, I'm still here. The one that says, I've got this. Even when your hands are shaking, the one that doesn't disappear when things get messy. Start noticing how often you say, I can't, without trying. Replace it with, I'll try. Stop telling yourself you're too late. Replace it with, now is the time. Stop assuming the worst. Start preparing for the best. This isn't about being blind to problems. It's about refusing to be blind to your potential. You've got more in you than you realize, but you won't see it until you start speaking like it's true. Remember this. Your words become your world. Speak defeat and you'll live. Speak belief and you'll grow into it. And the most important belief you'll ever have is in yourself. So today, make the decision. Not next year. Not next month. Today. Take control of your inner voice. Refuse to be your own enemy. Speak strength. Speak growth. Speak like your future depends on it. Because it does. And don't wait for someone else to say you're enough. Say it to yourself now, again and again, until you don't just say it. You start to feel it, until your belief is no longer a question, but a foundation, until your actions rise to meet the truth that's been inside you this whole time. You don't need permission to believe in yourself. You need courage, and that starts with what you say when nobody's watching. So say the right things. Say what lifts you. Say what pushes you forward. Say what builds the future you deserve. Then get to work. You're not here to be average. You're not here to shrink. You're not here to replay the past. You're here to grow, to rise, to lead, to live with purpose. And it all begins with how you talk to the person in the mirror. That voice. Make it your ally. Make it strong. Make it honest and firm and kind. Make it believe. Because when that voice is right, your life will follow. Oh. Number 2, stand tall and face what you are afraid of. Fear will follow you until you decide to face it. Most people spend their lives running from what scares them. Not physically running, but mentally avoiding. Emotionally hiding. Constantly dodging the things they know deep down they need to face. The conversation they never have. The decision they keep postponing. The dream they avoid chasing because failing would hurt more than never trying. But here's the truth. Avoiding fear doesn't make it disappear. It makes it grow. What you ignore only gains more control. And every time you back away, fear takes another piece of your power. You weren't born to play small. You weren't built to back down. You've just been conditioned to avoid discomfort. Conditioned to think that if something makes you nervous, it means stay away. But fear isn't a warning to stop. It's a signal to pay attention. It means there's something meaningful ahead, something worth your time, something that could change your life. You'll never feel fully ready. That feeling you're waiting for, that perfect moment when you're finally confident enough, it doesn't exist. Courage doesn't show up before the fear. It shows up when you decide to act despite it. The moment you decide to stand tall and face what you fear, you take your life back. That fear might still be there. Your hands might shake, your voice might crack, but you'll be standing. You'll be choosing strength over safety. And that's where growth begins. Think about the thing you've been avoiding. Really think. The one that gives you that uncomfortable feeling in your chest when you imagine doing it. Maybe it's putting yourself out there. Maybe it's admitting you were wrong. Maybe it's forgiving someone who hurt you. Or maybe it's walking away from something safe but unfulfilling. That fear is pointing at something important, something unfinished, something waiting to be claimed by the version of you who is done settling. Fear is not your enemy. Paralysis. The longer you hesitate, the more you convince yourself it's not worth it. But deep down, you know it is. You wouldn't be thinking about it so much if it wasn't. You wouldn't keep circling back to it if your soul wasn't nudging you forward. You're going to have fear. Everyone does. The difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck is what they do when fear shows up. One group lets fear decide for them. The other group listens, feels it, and moves anyway. That's who you have to be now. Someone who feels the pressure and still steps forward. Because on the other side of fear is freedom. Not just success, not just progress. Freedom. The freedom to finally feel proud. The freedom to sleep at night, knowing you didn't back down. The freedom to walk into the future without regrets hanging over your shoulder. Standing tall isn't about being fearless. It's about being honest. It's about admitting that fear has been calling the shots and deciding that ends now. It's about choosing integrity over comfort, saying I may not have all the answers, but I'm not running anymore. You can't wait for the fear to disappear before you act. The only way it loses power is when you confront it directly. Face the conversation, send the message, make the decision, show up. Whatever the fear is keeping you from doing, do it anyway. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present and brave. You've already wasted too much time doubting yourself. You've already played it safe for too long. What has that given you? Maybe a little peace, but not progress. Maybe a little comfort, but not growth. If you want to change your life, you have to interrupt the pattern. You have to start choosing action over escape. Look around you. Every person you admire has faced fear. They weren't born with more courage. They just got tired of hiding. They got tired of wondering what could be, and they decided to find out. That's the only difference. The decision to face it, not once, but again and again until fear becomes familiar and strength becomes natural. I want you to understand something. Fear shrinks when you stand up. Even if your voice is shaking, even if your legs are unsteady, even if you feel like you're going to fall apart, the very act of standing, that's power. That's progress. That's how you become the person who doesn't live under fear's shadow anymore. If you let fear keep you down, your future shrinks, your possibilities disappear, your potential stays trapped behind a wall you've built in your own mind. But when you look fear in the face and say, I see you, and I'm doing this anyway, that's when everything starts to shift. You don't have to take a giant leap. You just have to take the next step, the phone call, the move, the first try. The moment you stop hiding from it, you weaken it, you expose it. And when fear is exposed, it loses its grip. You already have more strength than you're using. But strength is not revealed in comfort. It's revealed in challenge. And that fear you've been avoiding, that's the challenge. That's the doorway. It's uncomfortable, yes, but so is staying stuck. So is pretending you're fine when you know you're not. You've got one life, one shot, and you can either spend it dodging what you're afraid of, or standing tall and taking it head on. And the truth is, you're going to face pain either way, the pain of growth or the pain of regret. One leads to strength, the other to stagnation. When you face what you fear, you start to respect yourself. You no longer have to pretend. You no longer have to explain why you didn't. You just do. And that action, that one moment of courage, it changes your identity. It becomes a new reference point in your mind. I am someone who faces fear. That identity is powerful. It carries over into every area of your life. So don't wait. Don't try to talk yourself out of it again. You already know what you're supposed to do. It's not hidden. It's right in front of you. The longer you hesitate, the more it costs you. Stand tall. Face it. Not later. Now. Even if it's hard. Even if it's uncomfortable. Even if you fail. Because standing tall isn't about the outcome. It's about the decision to show up fully for your own life. And when you do, everything changes. Your posture, your presence, your energy. People start to see it in you. But more importantly, you start to feel it in yourself. You were made to rise. You were made to overcome. You were made to stand, not shrink. And if you've been knocked down before, that's fine. It's not the fall that defines you. It's the comeback. Stand tall. Face the fear. Own your life. And never again let fear choose your future. Number 3, write down 3 things you did right today. You are doing better than you think you are. But the only way to truly feel it is to stop and acknowledge it. Most people go through the day remembering everything they didn't do, what they forgot, what they missed, what went wrong. They fall asleep thinking they're behind, not enough, and never getting anywhere. That's not because they're failing. It's because they're not seeing the full picture. They're measuring their life by what's missing instead of what's working. And when that becomes the habit, they stop noticing their own progress. They start walking through life with their eyes on the floor instead of up where growth is actually happening. That's why you need to do one thing that can completely shift how you see yourself every single day before the day ends. Write down 3 things you did right. Not perfect, just right. Something you handled well. a choice you made with intention, a moment when you didn't give up. The truth is, there are always more than three, but start there. Because when you start noticing your wins, you stop living like a failure. Now you might be thinking, I didn't do anything right today. But that's not true. That's just a tired mind speaking. That's a voice shaped by years of self-criticism and comparison. You've done more than you give yourself credit for. Did you show up for something you wanted to avoid? Did you speak with patience when you could have snapped? Did you stay consistent when you felt like quitting? Those things count. They matter. They add up. But you'll never see the pattern if you don't train your mind to look for it. Writing it down does something powerful. It takes the abstract and makes it real. It rewires how your brain stores your experiences. Instead of ending the day thinking, I'm not doing enough, you start closing each day with evidence that you're growing, learning, and becoming stronger. That one act builds self-trust. It builds self-respect. And that's where real belief begins. People think confidence is built by accomplishing something huge. It's not. Confidence is built by recognizing your consistency in the small things, the way you showed restraint, the way you handled pressure, the way you followed through on a promise to yourself. When you acknowledge those things, your inner dialogue starts to shift. You stop treating yourself like an enemy and start acting like an ally. You can't hate yourself into a better life. You can't shame yourself into becoming more. That approach keeps people stuck. It makes them afraid to try because they're terrified of falling short. But when you start focusing on what you're doing right, you start creating momentum. You start wanting to show up more. Because you know your efforts aren't being ignored. Not by others, but by yourself. Some days your 3 wins might be small. You drank enough water. You got out of bed when you didn't feel like it. You answered that message you've been putting off. But that's the point. They don't have to be massive. They just have to be real. And when you record them, your brain starts getting the message. Hey, I'm doing okay. I'm making progress. I'm not stuck. That mental shift can change everything. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about being honest, both about what needs work and what's already working. Growth doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means you face them with a balanced mind, not one weighed down by negativity. And the only way to develop that balanced mindset is by consistently reminding yourself of your wins. It's easy to forget them. We live in a world that glorifies hustle and speed. So when you slow down to notice your own effort, it feels strange at first, but it's necessary. Because otherwise, you become someone who always chases the next thing and never feels fulfilled. That's not success. That's burnout. Writing down your wins is how you stop that cycle. Think about it like this. If someone you cared about was trying hard every day and never stopped to recognize their effort, what would you say? You'd tell them to pause. You'd tell them they're doing more than enough. You'd want them to feel encouraged. So why don't you offer yourself the same grace? Why don't you give yourself the same support? Every night, take a moment. Sit in silence. Ask yourself one question. What did I do right today? Not what was perfect. Not what went exactly how I planned. Just what did I do right? Write it down. Put it on paper. Make it real. And don't rush it. Let it settle in. Feel it. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Your brain will start scanning for your wins throughout the day because it knows you'll be asking for them later. You'll become someone who's tuned into your growth in real time, not just in hindsight. And that awareness creates more motivation, more consistency, and more belief. I've worked with people from every background you can imagine. The ones who move forward the fastest aren't always the most talented. They're the most aware. They're the ones who track their progress, who stay honest with themselves, who choose to see the good they're doing, even when life is messy. That's what sets them apart. This habit doesn't take hours. It doesn't cost a thing, but it has the power to completely shift how you see your life. When you stack enough days of noticing your wins, your entire identity starts to evolve. You start feeling capable, competent, and worthy because you're seeing it for yourself every single day. That's how belief is built. Not by waiting for a breakthrough, but by collecting small proofs of progress. Proofs that you're doing better than your fear says, that you're making smarter choices than your doubts want you to see, that you're more disciplined, more resilient, more focused than your old identity gives you credit for. So don't go to sleep tonight without writing them down. 3 things, just 3. The decision to show up, the habit you followed through on, the boundary you held. Whatever it is, write it down and then do it again tomorrow and again the next day. Stack your win. Build the story of someone who's taking their life seriously, someone who's building belief one day at a time. This is how change begins, not in a moment of noise, but in quiet consistency. Start noticing what you're doing right and watch how fast everything starts falling into place. You are doing more than you think. Start proving it to yourself daily with your own words, your own record, your own awareness, because the life you want doesn't begin with what happens to you. It begins with what you choose to see. Start seeing the good. Start writing it down. Start becoming the person who always finds a reason to move forward. That's real strength. That's real success. That's how belief becomes a habit. Number 4, refuse to accept doubt from anyone around you. There will come a moment when someone looks you in the eyes and tells you you're not capable. And that moment will test everything you believe about yourself. That moment doesn't always come with harsh words. Sometimes it's quiet, a raised eyebrow, a delayed response, a silent pause after you share your dream. Sometimes it sounds like concern. Sometimes it hides behind sarcasm. And if you're not careful, you'll absorb it. You'll carry it home. You'll think about it when no one's around. And worst of all, you'll start repeating it in your own voice. That is what makes other people's doubt so dangerous. Not just because they say it, but because we start believing it. That's why you must decide now that doubt has no place in your future. Not theirs. Not yours. No one gets to tell you what's possible when they're not the one doing the work. They don't know your reasons. They don't feel your fire. They haven't walked your path. And they sure don't have to live with the regret if you stop moving forward. Only you carry that burden. So you better make sure you're building a future you can be proud of. Not one shaped by people who stop chasing their own. Most of the time, the people who tell you it can't be done are the ones who never tried. They gave up on themselves, and now they can't stand to see someone else rise. It's not your job to fight them. You don't need to argue. You don't need to convince them. Just don't accept it. That's the power move. That's the stand you take. Refuse to let their doubt become your truth. You've got to guard your mind like your life depends on it. Because it does. The moment you start entertaining their limits, you start shrinking. And once you shrink for them, you'll start shrinking for everyone. For every opinion, every sideways glance, every subtle suggestion that you're too much or not enough. That ends here. You're not here to be small. You're here to grow. You're here to lead. You're here to prove what's possible. I've seen too many people give up not because they failed, but because someone around them couldn't see the vision. They had momentum. They had passion, but they let one comment sink the whole ship. That's what doubt does when you're not prepared for it. It sneaks in. It twists your thoughts. It makes you question what you know deep down. So be ready. Have your mind made up. When someone tries to hand you their fear, don't take it. Here's the truth. Most people don't doubt you because of something wrong with you. They doubt you because your courage reminds them of everything they haven't done. Your drive makes them uncomfortable with their comfort. And instead of changing their own habits, it's easier to attack yours. That's why the path to growth can feel lonely. Because the more you believe in yourself, the more it reveals who around you doesn't. But that loneliness is not a sign that you're wrong. It's proof that you're rising, that you're stepping out of the crowd, that you're creating distance from average. And if you're going to become someone extraordinary, you have to learn how to walk through that season without lowering your standards, just to feel accepted. Belief in yourself is not something you ask others for. It's something you claim every day without apology. There's going to be times when you want to share your progress. You want to talk about your goals. You want to let people in. And when you do, don't be surprised if they don't get it. Don't let their lack of excitement dampen your fire. Just because they don't understand doesn't mean you're off track. Their confusion is not your problem. Their limitations are not your responsibility. Protect your belief like it's your most valuable asset. Because it is. You've got to train yourself to listen to your own voice louder than the noise around you. That takes discipline. That takes honesty. That takes showing up every single day, even when no one claps, even when no one supports, even when they roll their eyes and walk away. Keep going. That's how you build real confidence. Not by waiting for applause, but by staying consistent when it's silent. When you believe in yourself, you don't need permission. You don't need reassurance. You don't need constant validation. That doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means you move anyway. It means you act from intention, not insecurity. It means you've built something stronger than the doubt of the crowd. You've built inner certainty. And here's what happens when you refuse to accept their doubt. They start to change. Not because you told them to, but because you became the proof they needed. The same people who mocked your dream might come to you one day and ask how you did it. That's not your goal, but it's a reality. When you stay committed, you become the example. You show them what belief looks like in motion. But first, you have to protect it. You're going to get tested. There will be people close to you who mean well but speak fear. There will be strangers who judge your ambition. There will be friends who secretly hope you don't make it. Because if you do, they'll have to look at their own choices. You can't stop that. You can only control your reaction, and your reaction must be firm. You don't argue. You don't justify. You don't shrink. You just keep building. Build with your actions. Build with your discipline. Build with your daily decisions that no one else sees. Because that's what belief really is. A pattern, a muscle, something you strengthen through repetition, not words. You're not trying to win anyone over. You're trying to win over yourself. And once you do that, no one's doubt will ever hold power over you again. There is no shortcut here. You will face resistance. You will hear opinions, but you don't owe anyone your attention. You owe yourself a life built on courage. You owe yourself the chance to see what you're really capable of. So next time someone questions your dream, remember this: their voice only matters if you make it louder than your own. You don't have to cut people off to protect your belief. You just have to stop giving their doubt authority. You can still love them and disagree with them. You can still respect them and reject their limits. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You create space for your true self to lead. Refuse to accept their doubt. Not with anger, but with clarity. Not with defense, but with direction. Know who you are, know where you're going, and know why it matters. That's how you rise above the noise. That's how you turn belief into action. That's how you create a life no one else saw coming, except you. Because you believed when no one else did. And that is the beginning of everything. If you want to change your life, you have to show up like you already believe you can. There will be days when you don't feel ready. You'll wake up with doubt sitting heavy in your chest. You'll walk into rooms where people look more experienced, more certain, more at ease. Your mind will start talking fast. It'll say, "What are you doing here? You don't belong." And if you let that voice win, you'll step back. You'll fade into the background. You'll keep your potential buried beneath hesitation. But if you do one thing, if you make one bold move, everything can shift. Stand up straight. Breathe deep. Hold your chin high and act like you belong, even when you don't feel it yet. Confidence is not about being fearless. It's about moving forward while your fear is screaming. And that's what most people don't understand. They think confidence is something you earn after the success, after the win, after the moment. But I'm telling you, the people you admire didn't start confident. They started prepared. They started tired. They started unsure, but they acted. And that action, that moment of courage, when everything in them wanted to hide, that's what changed their story. Your story won't change unless you start acting from the person you want to become, not the one you're trying to escape. That means you speak even when your voice shakes. You enter the room even when your heart's racing. You volunteer for the opportunity even when your legs feel weak. That's what builds real confidence. Not faking, practicing strength until it feels natural, until it becomes part of who you are. Most people wait for certainty. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect feeling, the moment where everything aligns. But that moment never comes. Life doesn't give you certainty. It gives you choice. And every time you choose to act in confidence, Even while you're unsure, you take one step closer to becoming someone who believes in themselves. I've been there. I know what it feels like to question every move, to wonder if you're good enough, to walk into a room and think everyone's judging you. But I also know what happens when you say, I'm here anyway. When you hold your shoulders back, when you look someone in the eye, when you speak with calm, even while your stomach turns. You start creating evidence. You start showing your brain that you're capable. And that evidence builds trust. Not trust in the world, but trust in yourself. People often ask me, how do I build more confidence? And I always give them the same answer. Stop waiting for it. Act first. Act like the person you want to be. If you want to be strong, speak strong. If you want to be respected, show up like you already respect yourself. If you want to be successful, carry yourself with the energy of someone who wins, even before the win shows up. The way you carry yourself tells the world how to treat you. And more importantly, it tells your mind how to treat you. Here's something to remember. The way you move affects the way you think. If you stand tall, your brain responds. If you walk with purpose, your mind takes note. If you speak with clarity, even when you're unsure, something inside you starts believing it. That's not pretending, that's training. Every time you act confident, you're laying down a new track in your brain, a new belief, a new story, and eventually that story becomes your reality. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need every answer. You just need to show up like someone who deserves to be in the room. And let me tell you, you do. You earned your place. You've got experiences, ideas, and perspectives no one else has. Don't let fear rob the world of your voice. Now, this doesn't mean you lie to yourself. It means you lead yourself. Big difference. You don't deny your fear. You manage it. You don't fake your emotions. You regulate your focus. You don't ignore your doubt. You outgrow it through action. That's how real leaders rise. Not by being fearless, but by choosing strength over comfort. Again and again. I want you to think back on a moment when you didn't feel ready, but you did it anyway. Maybe you spoke up in a room. Maybe you tried something new. Maybe you took a risk. How did it feel after? Scary? Yes. But did you regret it? Or did you realize you had more in you than you thought? That's the breakthrough. When you act, despite your doubt, you discover strength you didn't know you had. And that's how transformation begins. The truth is, nobody is confident all the time. Even the best of us have days we feel like imposters. But the difference is, we don't let those feelings dictate the outcome. We stay committed to the goal, not the mood. We choose courage over comfort. And that choice is available to you every single day. So the next time you feel uncertain, act anyway, speak anyway, walk in anyway, shake the hand anyway, try anyway, move anyway. Because while the uncertain version of you hesitates, the confident version of you is waiting. And the only thing standing between the two is action. Your mind will try to protect you. It'll say, wait until you feel ready, but you'll wait forever. Because confidence is not something you feel first. It's something you earn by walking through the discomfort. Again and again and again. So stand up, show up, speak with strength, even if your heart races, even if your palms sweat, even if your voice shakes, because the only way to grow is to go. And the more you go, the more you'll know. You were always capable. You just had to believe it long enough to act like it. That's the moment your life begins to change. Not when everything's perfect, but when you stop letting uncertainty keep you quiet. You've got something to offer. You've got something to say. And the world doesn't need another silent genius. It needs someone like you, who's willing to show up loud and bold and real. So, not because you feel like it, but because you've decided. And once you decide, the rest follows. Confidence is not the reward. It's the process. You build it by being willing to act when others hold out. That's your edge. That's your power. And that's your path to the life you've been waiting for. Don't wait for the moment. Create it. Right now. Show up as if you already believe in who you're becoming. Because the truth is, that version of you is already inside. You just have to be brave enough to act like it. Number 6, show up every day, even when it feels hard. The most important days in your life are the ones you don't feel like showing up. Not the days when you're energized, excited, or inspired. Not the days when everything's working out and people are cheering you on. I'm talking about the days when you feel drained, when your mind is cloudy, when your heart's not in it, when nothing seems to be going your way. Those are the days that matter the most, because those are the days that build you. Anybody can work hard when it's easy. Anybody can be consistent when life feels light. But it takes a different kind of person to rise when their back's against the wall, when there's no applause, when no one's watching, when the results are delayed. That's when real growth happens. That's when your character is tested, and that's where most people give up. But that's exactly why you must not. If you want to live a life most people never experience, you've got to do what most people won't do. And one of those things is showing up, especially when it feels hard. Not once in a while, every single day. With intention, with grit, with a sense of ownership over your life. Even if today hurts. You don't have to feel powerful to do powerful things. You don't need to be inspired to take the next step. You just need to commit. You need to show up for yourself. Even if no one else is showing up for you. Even if your motivation's gone. Even if you doubt yourself. That's when you must lean in. Not back away. Because showing up in the hard moments rewires your mind. It teaches your brain that you are someone who doesn't quit. It builds emotional strength, the kind you can't buy. The kind nobody can give you. You earn it one hard day at a time. We've been sold the lie that discipline only works when it feels good. But discipline is what you do when it doesn't. The real test of belief in yourself is not how high you climb when everything's great. It's how steady you stand when the ground is shaking. It's easy to commit to your goals when you're in the mood, but commitment that lasts is forged in the days when you're tired, uncertain, discouraged, and overwhelmed, and you still show up. You can't rely on emotion to carry your future. Emotions change. They rise and fall. If you let your life be controlled by feelings, you'll live stuck in a cycle of short bursts and long breaks. And that's not how success is built. Success in anything that matters is the product of daily effort. Quiet effort. Repeated effort that continues even when it feels unfair, unrewarding, and unnoticed. That's how breakthroughs happen. That's how real self-belief is created. Think about where you are right now. Ask yourself honestly, are you showing up every day for the person you want to become? Or are you showing up only when it's convenient? The answer to that question will define your future. If you want confidence, you must earn it through consistency. If you want strength, you must build it through effort. If you want to trust yourself, prove it to yourself by not quitting on the hard day. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. Some days will stretch you to your limit. You'll be tempted to postpone, to skip, to say, not today. But those exact days are the turning points. Because every time you push through, every time you show up anyway, you create a new standard for yourself. You shift your identity. You stop being the person who needs everything to feel right before taking action. And you start being the person who acts because the goal matters more than the feeling. You might be in a season where progress feels invisible, where you're doing the work but not seeing the reward, where you're showing up but the results aren't coming fast enough. That's normal. Growth is often silent, but don't mistake silence for failure. Every bit of effort you give, even when it seems small, is creating momentum. You just can't see it yet. Your job is not to judge the results. Your job is to remain faithful to the process. Don't let one hard day become a week. Don't let a tough moment pull you back into old patterns. Show up again and again. Because every day you show up when you don't want to is a message to your future. I'm serious. I'm ready. I'm becoming someone who doesn't quit on myself. That kind of energy changes everything. Remember, consistency is not about perfection. It's about persistence. If you miss a day, start again. If you feel overwhelmed, slow down, but don't stop. If you fail, learn, but don't retreat. Stay in motion. Stay in the game. Because every time you stay in the game, you're gaining more than results. You're gaining control over your life. And that control creates freedom. Not the kind handed to you by the world, but the kind you built with your own hands. You don't need to compare your pace to anyone else's. You don't need to chase someone else's standard. You just need to keep showing up for yourself, fully, honestly, intentionally, every day, even when it's uncomfortable, especially then. Because that discomfort is your training ground. That's where the habits are formed. That's where mental toughness is developed. That's where you earn the kind of self-respect that nothing and no one can take away. People will notice your results later, but you have to notice your effort now. You have to wake up and decide that your goals matter more than your excuses, that your future deserves more than your fear, that your purpose is worth more than your pride. You've got what it takes, but you've got to keep proving it to yourself by getting up and doing the work, even on the hardest day. Every time you do something you didn't feel like doing, you send a signal to your mind that you are not controlled by weakness. You are not owned by comfort. You are not stuck in old habits. You are rising. You are becoming. You are winning. Even if the win doesn't show on the scoreboard yet, you are winning every time you show up anyway. You've come too far to stop now. You've invested too much to back down. The pain of staying stuck will always be heavier than the pain of discipline. So stay with it. Show up today, then show up again tomorrow. Stack those days. Let your efforts speak louder than your emotions. Let your choices speak louder than your circumstances. Because in the end, it won't be the talent that separated you. It won't be the knowledge. It'll be the daily decision to keep showing up. When most people stopped, that's how you build a life you're proud of. Not with grand moments, but with relentless consistency. So if it feels hard today, good. That means it matters. That means it's shaping you. That means you're right where you're supposed to be. Now get up, show up, and do it again. Number 7, speak your dreams out loud with full conviction. If you're afraid to say your dream out loud, you'll never live it. Most people stay quiet about what they truly want. Not because they don't believe in it, but because they don't believe they deserve it. They're scared someone will laugh, that someone will criticize, that someone will question their ability, their worth, their right to even want something that big. But here's the truth. Your dream will stay stuck in your imagination unless you dare to give it a voice. You have to speak it, and you have to say it like you mean it. There is something powerful about hearing your own voice declare what your heart is chasing. When you speak your dream out loud with conviction, you're doing more than just sharing a hope. You're claiming your direction. You're choosing to step forward, no longer hidden, no longer silent. And that's where the transformation begins. Because when you say it out loud, everything changes. Suddenly, your dream is no longer a secret. It becomes a promise to yourself, a promise to your future, a promise that you won't live the rest of your life waiting for the perfect moment to start. You are starting now with your voice, with your words, with your presence. You don't need the approval of the world to say what matters to you. You need your own permission. That's where strength begins, not when the world claps for you, but when you speak for yourself without waiting for applause. That's when you know you're serious. That's when you know you're done playing small. Some people will hear your dream and walk away. Some will roll their eye. Some will remind you of how hard it will be. But don't take that personally. That reaction isn't about you. It's about the limits they've put on themselves. Don't let someone else's fear shape your future. You're not here to live their life. You're here to live yours fully, honestly, bold. There is a psychological shift that happens when you speak what you want. It moves your dream from the abstract to the concrete. Your brain begins to organize your behavior around what you've declared. You begin to notice opportunities that align with what you've spoken. You begin to act more intentionally. That's the power of your voice. It's not just sound, it's direction. When you say what you want clearly and often, it builds a deeper connection between you and your future. Your mind can't aim for something you haven't defined. But once you say it, really say it, it becomes a target. It becomes something you can plan for, prepare for, fight for. Too many people whisper their dreams in fear and scream their doubts in frustration. It should be the other way around. Speak your dream with volume, with clarity, with emotion. Don't hide it in vague language. Don't water it down to sound more realistic. Say exactly what you want, how you want it, and when you want it. Own it. Conviction is what gives your words weight. It's not about shouting. It's not about putting on a show. It's about meaning what you say, feeling it in your bones, believing it enough to say it without hesitation, even if you're still figuring out the how, even if it scares you a little, especially if it scares you. Because fear is often a signal that you're aiming at something that matters. And let's be honest, what's the alternative? Keep your dream locked away because you're afraid of looking foolish? Keep pretending you don't care so you don't get disappointed? That's not safety. That's slow death. Regret doesn't come from failure. Regret comes from silence, from the things you never said, from the chances you never took. You don't need to explain your dream to everyone. You don't need to defend it. You don't even need everyone to understand it. You just need to say it with such inner certainty that nothing outside of you can shake it. The right people will hear you and believe in you. The wrong people will hear you and doubt you. That's not your concern. Your only job is to speak it and then follow it. Say it in the mirror. Say it in the car. Say it to your journal. Say it to someone who supports you. Just get used to hearing yourself. Claim something bigger than where you are now. That's how belief grows. That's how courage grows. That's how action begins. You weren't given your dream by accident. It was planted inside you for a reason, and it's your job to nurture it, to feed it, to protect it. Not with silence, but with intention, with words that hold energy, with declarations that carry forward momentum. Don't wait until you feel ready. Say it before you feel ready. Say it until you believe it. Say it until your actions match your words. Say it until it becomes your reality. Because it will if you stay committed. If you speak it, build it, and refuse to quit on it. Your voice is one of the most underused tools you have, not just to communicate with others, but to command your own attention, to set your focus, to create a state of mind that aligns with what you want. Every time you say your dream out loud, you are giving your mind a target. You're setting the tone for your habits, your decisions, your energy. Say it, even if it feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is the beginning of growth. That's the sign that you're stepping outside the limits you've accepted for too long. And outside those limits is where everything begins to change. The world doesn't need another person playing small to avoid judgment. The world needs more people who have the courage to stand up, speak out, and go after what sets their soul on fire. Be one of those people. Not next year. Not after you figure everything out. Today. Right now. So speak your dream with full conviction. Say it with honesty, with passion, with urgency. Say it until you're not afraid of it anymore. Say it until it's part of who you are. Say it, then go build. Not for approval, not for applause, but because you decided you will not die with your dream unspoken. You will live it. You will own it. You will speak it. And then you will do the work to make it real. Number 8. Cut off people who constantly tear you down. If someone in your life constantly makes you feel small, it's time to stop making space for them. You cannot build a powerful life while staying surrounded by people who only know how to tear things down. You can't rise when your circle keeps pulling you back down, with criticism disguised as concern, with sarcasm that cuts deeper than they admit, with energy that drains instead of fuels. There comes a moment in every journey where you must protect your peace like your future depends on it, because it does. Some of the most damaging voices aren't the loudest. They're subtle. They're wrapped in passive comments, in fake encouragement, in silence when you needed support the most. You start questioning yourself, not because you're wrong, but because someone you trusted planted doubt in your soil. Over time, that doubt becomes a pattern. It shows up in hesitation, in second guessing, in the fear to take your next step. And you begin to carry weight that was never yours to hold. You don't owe loyalty to people who consistently make you feel less than. You don't have to explain your dreams to those who keep minimizing them. And you certainly don't have to keep relationships that cost you your confidence. The truth is, some people get uncomfortable when you grow, because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. Your ambition shines a light on everything they've avoided in themselves. And instead of rising with you, they throw shade, hoping to dim your fire. But their discomfort is not your responsibility. You're not here to keep shrinking so other people feel secure. You're here to become everything you were meant to be. And that requires boundaries. That requires strength. That requires the courage to walk away from anyone who only shows up when they're tearing something down, never when it's time to build. It's not selfish to protect your energy. It's survival. Because the wrong voices can kill the right momentum. They chip away at your progress, one small insult at a time. They joke about your goals. They dismiss your progress. They pretend to support you in public but criticize you in private. And every time you stay silent around them, every time you tolerate the disrespect, you send a message to yourself that their comfort matters more than your well-being. Enough of that. You are not obligated to keep emotional debt on your balance sheet. If someone can't respect your vision, your time, your effort, they don't belong in your front row. You don't need to yell. You don't need to get revenge. You just need to leave. Quietly, completely, confidently. Some people will call you cold when you distance yourself. Let them. Some will accuse you of changing. That's the point. You're not who you were when you tolerated their behavior. You're growing. And growth requires space. It requires clarity. It requires being honest enough to say, this dynamic is not healthy for me. And I deserve better. You deserve to be around people who lift you, who challenge you without belittling you, who see your potential and don't feel threatened by it. You deserve conversations that energize you, not ones that drain your soul. And if you haven't had that in your circle, then maybe now is the time to start creating it. One decision at a time. It won't be easy. Cutting ties with people who've been part of your life, even if they've been toxic, takes strength. It takes clarity. It takes a deep respect for yourself and your future. But what's harder is staying stuck in a loop of emotional damage, wondering why you keep feeling unmotivated, unseen, unworthy. You've got one life, one chance to create something powerful, meaningful, fulfilling. You can't afford to waste it, babysitting people's insecurities or carrying their projections. That's not your job. Your job is to become the strongest, clearest, most focused version of yourself. And to do that, you must create an environment that supports your evolution. Ask yourself, who do you feel energized around? Who leaves you feeling seen, heard, understood? Who believes in your goals even when you have doubts? Those are the voices you need more of. That's the energy you should be surrounding yourself with. And anyone who consistently makes you feel smaller doesn't belong in the blueprint of your future. It's okay to outgrow people. It doesn't mean you're better than them. It just means your direction is different. Your pace is faster. Your priorities are evolving. And that's natural. That's healthy. That's life. So if someone constantly tears you down, whether with words, with actions, or with energy, it's time to release them. You don't need a dramatic exit. Just stop engaging. Stop explaining. Stop giving access to people who misuse. You are not a rehabilitation center for emotionally irresponsible people. You are a human being with a mission, and every second you waste in toxic dynamics is a second stolen from your growth. Choose better. Choose people who speak life into your idea. Choose relationships where your wins are celebrated, not resented. Choose peace over drama, clarity over confusion, elevation over ego. Because the longer you stay around people who tear you down, the harder it becomes to rise. Your future self is waiting for you on their side of that decision. The you who walks with confidence. The you who doesn't second guess every step. The you who knows they deserve to feel safe, supported and respected in every space they enter. So start today. Reclaim your voice. Reclaim your worth. Cut the ties that are cutting you and build a circle that builds you. This is your moment. Don't waste it explaining your value to people committed to misunderstanding you. Walk forward. Walk strong. And don't look back. Number 9, push yourself to finish what you start daily. If you want to feel proud of the life you're living, then you must start by finishing what you begin. There is power in completion. Every time you follow through, even when you're tired, unmotivated, or discouraged, you reinforce a part of yourself that believes you can be counted on. You build trust with yourself, not through words, but through action. When you commit to something and follow it to the end, even on the smallest scale, you train your mind to understand that discipline is stronger than mood and character is louder than excuse. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they stop, they quit before the finish line. They start with fire and end in ash. They collect ideas, make plans, get excited, but when the high wears off and the grind sets in, they walk away. That's the pattern that keeps dreams small and lives average. But you are not here to be average. You are here to live with intensity, integrity, and purpose. That starts with completing what you say you will. Think about the energy you waste every time you begin a task and never finish it. Open loops drain your focus. Incomplete actions create mental clutter. Every half-built bridge in your life becomes a symbol of doubt. But the opposite is also true. Every small thing you finish builds momentum. It creates a psychological win. And that win stacks with the next one. And the next, until suddenly, you're not just showing up, you're unstoppable. Finishing what you start doesn't always feel glamorous. Sometimes it means doing the last 10% when no one's watching. Sometimes it means pushing through the discomfort when the excitement is gone. It's not the sexy part of the journey, but it's the part that separates those who dream from those who deliver. The moment you begin to see finishing as a habit, not a feeling, everything changes. You don't need to feel inspired to follow through. You don't need to wait until you're motivated. You need to decide that the version of you you're building is worth the discomfort of completion. Because it will be uncomfortable. It will test you. It will ask you to show up on days you don't want to. But those are the exact moments where greatness is carved. One action at a time. It's not about finishing perfectly. It's about not quitting. It's about reminding yourself daily that you have what it takes to see things through. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. If you leave small tasks unfinished, how can you expect to handle big responsibilities with excellence? If you let yourself off the hook every time something gets hard, how will you ever build the resilience needed for long-term success? Discipline starts with the daily grind. Not once in a while, not when it's convenient, but daily. Finish the workout, send the email, clean the space, make the call, follow up, execute. It's the accumulation of small completions that leads to massive transformation. The finish line is rarely far. It's just hidden behind layers of resistance. But if you keep pushing through, you'll find it. And when you do, you'll realize that the strength you gain from finishing is more valuable than any external reward. Sometimes we think we're waiting for a breakthrough, but more often, the breakthrough is waiting for us on the other side of finishing what we started. If you keep stopping at 80%, you'll never experience the full impact of your potential. Your life will always feel like a series of loose ends, but when you fully finish, you open up space for something greater. New opportunities, new levels of self-respect, new identity. And yes, it's going to take effort. You'll have to fight against distraction, procrastination, self-doubt. You'll have to silence the voice in your head that says, you can do this later. That voice has lied to you before. Don't listen this time. Do it now. Finish it now. You don't need more time. You need more commitment. People will remember you, not by what you said you were going to do, but by what you followed through on. Completion is a reputation. It's your personal proof that you're reliable, determined, and focused. And when others see that, they trust you more. But more importantly, you begin to trust yourself more. And that's what gives you power in every area of your life. Let this be the moment you shift your standard from I'll try to I will. from someday to today, from starting to finish. Imagine how your confidence will grow when you stop leaving things half done. Imagine the clarity that comes from knowing you have what it takes to cross the line. Every time. This is your challenge. Every single day. Finish what you start. It doesn't matter how small the task. Build the muscle of completion, because that muscle will carry you through the hardest seasons. It will become your edge, your advantage, your proof that when others slow down, you keep going. And don't let your feelings run the show. Feelings are fleeting. Discipline is dependable. Show up, do the work, and close the loop. Not just once, not just when it's easy, every day. Because consistency compounds. And over time, the person who finishes every day will always outperform the one who starts a million things and completes none. You don't need to chase motivation. You need to chase completion. Push yourself to the end of everything you commit to, and you'll realize that confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from hard-earned trust in yourself. That trust is the foundation of everything you want to build. So start now. Look around. What's unfinished? What's been left behind? What idea, what task, what goal needs your final push? Pick one. Finish it. No more excuses. No more dragging it out. Complete it. And feel the shift that happens inside you when you do. Because once you taste the satisfaction of following through, you'll never settle for quitting again. This is how greatness is built. Not in the moment of beginning it, but in the decision to finish. So make that decision daily and don't stop. Number 10, look in the mirror and say you are enough. If you want to change your life, it begins with the simple, radical act of looking in the mirror and saying, I am enough. This statement holds more power than you realize. It's not just words, it's a declaration that shatters the chains of doubt, fear, and unworthiness that have held you captive for too long. So many of us walk around feeling like we must prove something to the world, others, and most painfully to ourselves. But here's the truth. You are not incomplete. You are not flawed beyond repair. And you are not less than anyone else. You are enough right now, in this moment. This realization isn't just a feel-good mantra. It is the foundation of transformation. When you accept your worthiness fully and without conditions, your energy changes. You stop chasing validation from outside sources. You stop living as if your value depends on achievements, possessions, or approval. You reclaim your power by recognizing that your value is inherent. It's not something you earn. It's something you already possess. Think about how much time you spend battling your own inner critic. That voice that tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not worthy of love or success. That voice is a liar, and it's time to confront it head on. When you look in the mirror and say, I am enough, you're telling that voice you won't believe its lies anymore. You're standing up for yourself. You're choosing self-compassion over self-judgment. Imagine what happens when you truly believe this. You stop seeking external approval to feel validated. You start making choices that honor your values, your dreams, and your well-being. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's expectation. Instead, you begin to expand into your fullest potential. Because your foundation is secure. You don't build your life on shifting sands of if only I were better, or when I achieve this, then I'll be worthy. You build on rock-solid self-acceptance. This is not denial of growth or ambition. It's the opposite. When you know you are enough, your growth becomes authentic. You strive not from a place of lack or desperation, but from a place of abundance and confidence. You learn and evolve because you respect yourself, not because you're trying to fix a broken self. You stop punishing yourself for mistakes, and instead treat yourself with kindness that fuels resilience. I want you to pause and feel how deeply revolutionary this is. Many people spend their entire lives running from their perceived inadequacies. They hide parts of themselves, try to please endlessly, and still feel empty. The moment you embrace your inherent worth, a profound peace settles in. You realize you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You already have everything you need to be whole and complete. It's important to recognize that self-acceptance doesn't mean you become complacent or stop improving. Instead, it means you're no longer your own worst enemy. You no longer sabotage yourself with harsh judgments or impossible standards. You give yourself permission to be imperfect and human, while still moving forward with purpose and courage. When you stand in front of the mirror and say, "I am enough," you're rewiring your brain. You're creating new nodal pathways that support self-love and confidence. Science shows that the brain responds to repeated affirmations by strengthening the belief behind them. This practice reprograms negative thought loops into empowering narratives. You can literally change how you feel about yourself by what you choose to say. There will be days when this feels difficult. Old insecurities will try to creep back. The world will throw challenges your way that test your self-belief. But the difference now is you have an anchor. You have a truth you return to, no matter what. I am enough becomes your shield and your sword. It protects you from toxic comparisons and harsh criticism. It empowers you to rise above self-doubt and external negativity. Let me tell you something vital. No one else can give you the validation you seek. No achievement, relationship, or status can fill the gap that only self-acceptance can. When you grasp this, your entire relationship with life transforms. You stop chasing fleeting moments of approval and start creating a steady, unwavering source of love from within. That love changes how you show up in every area of your life, in your work, your relationships, and your dreams. Now, I invite you to take a moment, stand in front of a mirror, look directly into your own eyes, and say it with conviction. I am enough. Feel the weight of those words as they settle in your heart. Let them wash away years of self-doubt. Let them ignite a new chapter where you no longer seek permission to be yourself. This is your foundation. This is your power. From here, everything else grows. When you know you are enough, you start attracting what matches that energy. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach begin to open. Relationships deepen. Creativity flows. Confidence radiates from within. Unshakable and real. The journey to self-acceptance is ongoing. But every day you practice this affirmation, you strengthen your core. You reclaim your identity from the noise and chaos of the outside world. You step fully into your unique light, without apology or hesitation. If you've been waiting for the perfect moment to start loving yourself, this is it. If you've been doubting your worth, it's time to end that story now. You are enough. Not someday, not if, but right now. And believing this is the first step toward a life that reflects your true value. Commit to this practice daily. Look in the mirror every morning and remind yourself that you are worthy of all the good life offers. When self-doubt tries to take hold, return to this truth. Let it be your compass, your anchor, your fire. Remember, the world needs you exactly as you are. Your gifts, your imperfections, your story, they are all part of the masterpiece only you can create. Own it, celebrate it, speak it into existence with full heart and soul. Say it loud, say it proud, and watch how your world begins to shift. Because the moment you believe you are enough, you unlock a power within that no circumstance or opinion can ever take away. Now go forward with that truth. Carry it with you. Let it transform your life, and share this message with others who need to hear it. You are enough. And that is the greatest gift you can give yourself in the world.